Welcome back to yet another episode of Not Yet Mature. My name is Dion and it's so great having you here. If you are ready, then 3, 2, 1, here we go! So today I'm going to speak about, and the title for today's podcast is Building Sales Models. So if you are in the sales industry or research and development industry or, sales director, anything like that, or just, find sales interesting, then I'll definitely encourage you to listen to today's message. And it really is something basic, short, and just talking sales a bit. And before I do that, I just want to put in context like exactly why I chose it. So I want to just reflect back on myself. So I'm not obviously, I am, for those of you that know or do not know, that I love business. I'm in business. I've scaled about 4 of my own companies and recently joined a company as a full-time sales director, which I basically build their sales models, implement them, run the analytics and strategies and things like that on a global scale. And that really just was something super interesting for me because my background is more business consultation and leadership development. So this company approached me and said, "Hey Dion, don't you want to do like our full-time business, be our sales director, motivating the team, assisting on our global business scaling, especially in sales and things like that?" And I said, "Yep, sure." And there was quite a couple of things that was very interesting for me that I got to learn. So my involvement and expertise in sales, is something that I went into with an open heart, open mind, willing to learn, willing to research, and especially because we launched on a global scale, meaning there are so many microeconomical factors involved, like other countries, local, governments, everything like that. Even we are a sales technological company or a technological company we see ourselves in the healthcare industry, but my main focus is sales. And the one thing that I've noticed is there is actually, generally speaking, especially on any type of scale that you are, whether you're local, whether you're international, whether you just, in a continent or a couple of countries, there is some form of local sales and then a bigger picture sales. And we sometimes forget that. Okay, if you think about a person living, let's take South Africa, for example, we've got a person living in the coast. Let's say they have a sea view and everything like that, and you are in the real estate game or in the holiday rental game, if that's the type of sales you do, marketing, advertising, pricing it and taking it to a person living in the coast already is way more difficult than someone not living at the coast, so your industry is not always changeable because of going outside the borders, because of cultural, religious changes or things like that. But the market, really, the smaller you break it down, and I'm going to do a podcast on traction and liquidity to talk about the smallest markets with the biggest diversity to really captivate and capture that interest. But if you think about it, sales usually is, there's one sales model. And I want to urge you that if you develop or work on sales model, that you break down that preconceived idea that you've got one sales model and that should work throughout. You'll notice automatically that if you do it like that way, some markets will always be more successful than other markets because of exactly that need. Selling holiday packages at the coast is way easier to sell it to someone that's never been or, doesn't live on the coast than to someone that has a sea view on everyday life. So surely that should already just open up that idea and say, oh my goodness, yes, Dion, that kind of makes sense. There is that sales model needs to be adapted or changed, or either from the product point of view or from any point of view. So I'm not going to talk about product and pricing and all of those point of views, but you can really break it down to anything. So what I want to focus today is you need to remember one thing. A company that you either own or work for has a CI, a corporate image, okay? It's got a corporate structure. It's got a current business model or modus operandi, however you want to call it. It's got a specific product or service line, and there might be a product or service pipeline, meaning what you're moving towards, and there might also be a product or service history, something that you previously sold, but because of X, Y, and Z factors, you don't do that anymore. And it's usually industry specific. Okay, unless if you e-commerce, it's still, and you sell various industry things, or your job portal or whatever, you still a specific industry, which is e-commerce. And then you've kind of already got specific markets and audiences. Okay, markets and audiences in the sense of those are the people that you're currently selling to, or that that you're going to move into next, or going to expand into next. Okay, so if you take all of these, all of the following: your CI, corporate imaging, your corporate structure, your business model, your product or service line, your industry, and your markets and audience, and you evaluate them. That should give you a foundation of what your sales model should look like. Now, till now, this makes logical sense. I mean, that's why you decided to sell the way you do. There's a specific way that you do things. Okay. But that's usually when we stop. We've got one thing in mind, and then we keep on doing it like that, and we think that's our business model or a sales model, and then later on we see, oh my goodness, sales failed here, sales succeeded here, so this market is better, that market is not worth it. But if you only stop there, you actually haven't built your sales model to the uniqueness of the market at all. You haven't, because you've got one sales model that serves both local, both international, both expanding, both, in your town, in the town. You had everything under one umbrella, and that's how you judge it, which is not fair. Going back to my initial point where, you really need to evaluate each of the markets to the finest point. And I would urge you, if you want to understand more than that, to listen to my traction liquidity cast to explain exactly how that works. But going into sales, building a sales model. So if you've evaluated the above mentioned, it should give you a foundation of how your sales model look like. Now, I'm not going too depth on how to design one. If you want to, give me a call, reach out and say, Dion, I need your assistance in building sales model. As I said, I've built one for over 48 countries for exactly the same company, and for other companies as well, that really is each unique model, even though it's different, or even if it's the same company, each model surely looks different. So if you've evaluated them, that brings you two things that you need to understand. Number one is there are common grounds. So that's where it splits. If you've got your foundation, you can split the one to basically, the left wing or the right wing, or however you visualize it. But you've got your foundation, which is understanding and evaluating everything about your company, the CI structure, business model, etc., etc. And that should bring you to the point where you break it down into 2 points. So you draw an arrow left and you draw an arrow right. And the two things are as follows. Number one, it should expose to you the common grounds. Common grounds in the sense of that is the consistency. That is the things that you can't change. You can't change your logo of your company. You can't change, how the payments works. You can't change your model line. There are common grounds. There are common things that will stay the same in each and every single business model that there is. And I'm pretty sure if you think about it, so if you are selling, holidays, the common ground is you are selling holidays, and that place at the ocean will still be sold, or that holiday experience will still be sold regardless of your business plan changing. That is a common ground. Okay, going to the right. So you've got your common ground on the left, expanding from your foundation. The other thing is you need to understand that there is a nicheness in each market. You need to understand what that market offers, how they do it, why things work in that market. This is where each market, through research, gets changed. And very often, we put that leg of nicheness in the market above common grounds. In other words, we evaluate the nicheness, we look for consistency throughout, and that forms the common grounds, which is not correct in implementing a sales structure. You should really split the two. Because if you don't split the two, you're going to miss out on certain opportunities, and you're going to think that you need to look for common nicheness to present that product to the market, which is not the truth in building sales structures. It might work to a certain point because there might be a consistent need. Everyone wants to go on holiday. That's fine. But think about it, offering that to the person at the coast and to the person in the bushveld, or, it will look differently. So then you need to understand that there's a nicheness in each and every market, and that nicheness does not need to determine your common ground. Your common ground is determined from what your company represents separately. So those are the two legs: common ground and nicheness in the market, right? Going back to common ground. Common ground, arrow it down, should show you the consistency. What needs to be consistent in your product, in services, and everything like that? What is the consistency? If I think about medical aid with the same package, the same medical aid plan, if you want to put it like that, they've got different pricing models for people at the coast and people inland, simply because coastal living is generally, a more relaxed living. So the consistency is the product, but the nicheness is the price, for example. So when they built that model, they took the common grounds left and they took the nicheness right, and then they worked it from there, which is accurate and true. So going on the common grounds, you need to draw it down and go through, okay, there needs to be consistency. The common ground is the consistency that will feature throughout, doesn't matter which market I go through. And you need to determine that consistency. Moving back to the right leg, the nicheness in the market, drawing an arrow down on that. This exposes what change needs to be brought and what implementation, or change and implementation, or change in implementation needs to be worked on. What needs to be changed in my product or services without affecting my foundation. Because the foundation's there first. Nothing that you draw down should change your foundation. This is what we call, a position that you're in where you doubt your whole business model and everything. This is where we see businesses fail because the one contradicts the foundation of the company. No, that's why I said start with your foundation, then expose your common grounds, then expose your nicheness on the other side, and moving down from common grounds, you get your consistency. And moving down from your nicheness in markets, you get your change and implementation that you need to do. And that's how you evaluate every single thing about the product. You can see what I need to change and implement to affect and complement and adhere to and offer something to the nicheness in that market. Then those two, once again, come together. And they form the innovation. So the only two times where your business model or your sales model get together is, number one is when you did your evaluation of everything in your business and you got your foundation, then it's split into common and nicheness. Common moved down to consistency, nicheness went down to change and implementation, and then they come back together, kind of like the roof of your foundation, and it brings in innovation. This is where you innovate everything together so that you have a product or service to offer to each and every single market, so that your foundation complements your roof, which is innovation, and your innovation, which is your roof, once again, covers your foundation. Okay? Hope that makes sense. And then lastly, from your innovation, what it does is it gives you the opportunity to evaluate the following. It gives you statistical analysis. It gives you the gold, which is data. Okay? You run data with everything, because this data on this model shows you why things are not working in markets and why certain markets are, changing or adapting or reacting differently to your business model. That data, together with feedback, is what you then use to, go back to your nicheness, go back to your common grounds. And this is how you build a successful sales model. We can really make it practical and go in depth about it, and I'll see if I've got time to do a podcast on that to really make it practical. But you need to understand that just following a sales model and copy and pasting it through and then saying this market didn't work, or for whatever reason, simply means that you didn't build that sales model right. If you can fact it out on statistical analysis, data, and feedback on this business model, it should expose you to markets that will better work, and it should red flag and showcase it even prior to you spending hundreds and thousands of rands, dollars, whatever, into a market that failed. Now, I used this model and I successfully scaled, I think, in 48 different countries, exactly the same model, because there was a foundation, there was a common ground that formed part of our corporate imaging, our structure, our markets, our business model, everything like that. But then there was a nicheness in each and every market. And in each and every market, I even micro-niched each and every market, went into, local economies and smaller towns, and broke it down even further. And then I brought everything back and say, how can I be innovative with my sales model? And then I took all the data from that, and I can exactly tell you which markets needs to bring me what to the market in sales and with my predictions, and I can tell you exactly which will be more difficult and which will be worth it to approach or not worth it to approach. You see, sometimes we just want to trial and error things, and we think that is testing a sales model, or we want to copy and paste a sales model and see if it works. That's not how sales modeling works. If you want me to assist in your company's sales model, you're more than welcome to reach out to me. I'll be glad to speak to you about it. If you've got any comments or changes or anything that you object to or not agree to, that's also 100% fine. But thank you for taking the time to listen to today's podcast. Go out and smash those sales models. Truly think about, evaluating your company, building a foundation, breaking it down to the common grounds, to the nicheness. Look at the consistency, change and implementation, bring that together into the roof of innovation, and get your data from that field, not from the above fields, because that field will bring you the entire picture of what your company should be doing and how it's doing. All of the best, and see you next time on Not Yet Mature.